I am about to start a very important project, which is before I've given it to the person I'm going to give it to. So it's got to remain top secret, but I'm going to document it in case it might be of value to you. I've done it once before and it was an enormous success. So I'm just praying the luck gods are on my side and I'm going to start. So this is a onesie that I made for my son years ago, and you may have seen me wearing it when I go swimming. I love these big deep pockets. So I am making my sister one, and I've got her this lovely, well, I think it's really cool winter fleece. It's really thick, and then she's got red, blue and white fleece. So they're in their virgin form at the moment. I just really hope I manage to, well, basically I'm going to use my old one as a template. When I first made this one, I just put some baggy tracksuit bottoms on the floor with a really baggy hoodie over the top. And I just went round, I sort of, you know, pretended it was a dead person on the floor and used it as a template. So that's what I'm going to do this time too. Here is on. I really hope this turns out okay. But this is pretty much how I made my last one. And that turned out absolutely flipping fabulous. So it's all a bit bitty at the moment. I need to sew it together. I've alternated my pockets. I'm just going to edge these a little bit and then sew them onto the top layer before I then join. I think what I'm going to do is join the body together first. Probably put the zip in and then attach the arms. I can't remember how I did it last time. And then the neckline, I'm not entirely sure. That's the most tricky bit as far as I'm thinking at the moment. So I'll have to deal with that once I've sewed it up. And then I need to add my cuffs. I'm going to put elasticated bands around the bottom, so I need to sew those in. And then I'm going to make a massive hood because the hoods always look amazing on them. First part of my sewing has been just to edge the pocket. So I've done this one already, and literally all I've done is folded it over. You can see it's not particularly smart, but it just edges it and it gives it some nice rigidity for when it goes onto the main body. And now I'm just going to literally do the same to this pocket. I like having different coloured pockets. I'm just going to fold it over, sew that on, and then I will attach that to the front sections of the onesie. Now I'm just pinning this pocket into place. So when I sew it onto literally just my raw section at the moment, so the first section of the front, so it doesn't move around too much. One side's done. I've just, I had turned it inside out and I've joined from the crutch down to the base here, and then joined from just underneath the armpit. Again, these seams are all nice and tight now, joined to the bottom of the leg. I'm going to put some elastic in here and make it go blues on. It's just like a raw edge at the moment. I'm not too worried about that. That's the easy bit. So I'm going to now do the same on for the other half. So I've pinned them, I basically put it back to back, so inside out, pin it together, and then just run down the edges from the crutch to the base and from the armpit down to the base of the leg. Turn it the right way round, and then next I'm going to join the back seams together up to the top. I've left the top here pretty raw at the moment. I'm going to make my sleeves, put those together, sew them on, and then I'm actually going to work on the neckline. So I'll do that last, because I'm also going to make a large hood to get attached to this. So I really want to have the body ready first before I start fiddling around with the hood area. Now I'm going to I've made my two sleeves. I sewed them inside out, so you know, got nice tidy seams. I've got raw edges here. I'm going to trim these down to size, and then I'm going to turn the sleeve inside out and just attach this cuff, sew that to the inside of it, sort of back to back, and it makes a really nice strong cuff. It's what I did on my onesie, and it's worked out really, really well. In fact, I might be able to just, yeah, you can see here, it's just like, fleece is so easy to sew with, and you've just got the raw edge of the cuff there. I've worn this loads, and I take it to the beach every time I go sea swimming, so I'm pulling it on with sticky, you know, sticky body, and they've stayed really, they're fantastic cuffs. I got them off Amazon. Now, this is a bit of a tip, because this bit's elasticated and obviously the fleece isn't too stretchy, excuse my feet, but if you put it over your foot, it stretches it so that you can pin the fleece to this elasticated cuff raw edge, and then you can just put it over the sort of narrow part of your sewing machine, and you'll make sure that you've got both the sort of raw edges aligned, and you can sew them on together, because you want this cuff, because it's elasticated, you want it to be stretched out so that when you've sewn it, it's got that sort of stretchiness into it. I'll show you in a minute. So I've sewn the raw cuff on, turn it round, and voila! Don't that look fabuloso? Got to admit, this foxed me a bit. So now I'm sewing the sleeves onto the actual body of the onesie. So what you want to make sure is that you've got the two front sides. You want those back to back, and then literally pin them on. So I've pinned around the outside of what will be the armhole. And I'm just going to sew that on, and you'll see I've still got like raw edges at the top. This is where I'm actually going to, I've got a lot of spare material here. This is what will go around the hood and make the neckline eventually. I remember when I did my onesie, this is sort of, apart from putting in the zip, this was one of the last bits that I did. It's also the last bit that I'm thinking, jeepers, how the heck am I going to do it? But I did it before, so I'm going to do it again. And then once I've got my arms on and I know where the chest needs to come up to. So on my onesie, you can see here, I've got my zip just about up to the top, and then I made a flap to go over with that button, because my zip didn't come up quite as high as I ideally wanted it to. So I want to make sure that the zip on this new one comes up just a little bit further, but not so far that it's scratchy. So it's really sort of, I want to get these sort of sleeves in, and then, you know, ready to put the hood on. And in fact, I might actually put the hood on first before I add my zip. But the zip's going to be relatively simple anyway. I will just, like you can see on this one, I turned over the edges just to make it slightly stronger. But I think I turn them over as I actually put the zip in. Like I say, fleece is so forgiving. So, and then it's a very long zip. It comes down to about crutch level. So I will be adding a similar zip into my new onesie when I've done that. We have 2 sleeves attached. Yes, yes. I like to have multicoloured sleeves, nice cuffs. And so next is going to be this bit, and it's going to be a bit ad lib. I'm going to have a very close look at what I did already on my other one, and I'm going to try and replicate that and somehow sew it around this neckline. But I've left plenty of spare fabric around here, so you know, what I don't use, what I'll probably do is attach the hood when I've made it, and then just remove these excess bits or hem them down, because, you know, I can probably roll that over and make that into quite a nice hem. Then when my hood is on, I will then attach my zip, and then all I need to do is I've got some elastic to put around the base of these. Oops, you can see on that one, and that'll make them nice pantaloony. And that'll be it. That's job done. I'm sort of working my way through this hood. On this, you'll see, on the one I've made, I've got like, it's really, I love this bit. So I've basically measured this, the length and the width. And I've chopped a piece off my pretty fleece, and that's pretty much the same dimensions. Next, what I did was I've measured a rectangle, although this is shaped. I remember just shaping that once I'd cut it. And that measures, I can't remember. Anyway, the rectangle is, let me tell you just in case actually you're interested to know, allowing a bit extra. It's about 20 centimetres wide by about 40 centimetres long, high, okay? And then you'll see also down the back of the hood, I've got like an extra section to make it extra wide. So I've given a rough guess of that. It's about 50 centimetres. So I've cut out a section there. To be honest, if I need a bit extra, I can easily sew another section on. But don't forget, I'm going to have this border on the front of it too. And then what I'll probably do, once I've made the template of my hood, once I've sewn the outside together, I'll probably line it inside with some dark blue. But what I'm going to do at the moment, I'm literally just going to take an arc off this that would help shape the hood. And then I'm going to start to sew all this together. And then once I've sewn it together, I'm going to line it with some dark blue fleece. And then we'll pray and cross our fingers. And then I'm going to try and attach it to the top of the body of my onesie that is hoodless at the moment. So I've just sewn that section into the hood. Literally just moved it around on the sewing machine as I went, and measurements are pretty spot on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach, in fact I think I'm going to line it first with the dark blue, because lining will also help hide these seams. And then once I've done that, I will then sew the outer rim onto it, which is this fleece here. I think that's the way around I'm going to do it. So I've made my inside for my hood so you can't see the hems. Got my outside for the hood, and then I'm actually going to, what I did on my other hood was I'm just going to sort of attach, so I'm going to raw edge these together. So this is like the pretty bit on the edge of the hood. And so essentially I'm going to, if I just lay this out like this, so actually bear with me a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these edges together and these edges together, so it'll give me a nice big band that I'll use as the front of the hood. So when I put this inside that, this band will be on the outside of it. And then once I've finished that, I'm actually going to, like on this hood, you can see I've attached the inside lining along that hem, just so that it keeps the sort of inside and the external layer held together. I'll show you after I've done it. Hood is done. Oh, this is something I was dreading. Literally all you have to do is take action. If the worst comes to the worst, you can always re-sew it or unpick it or do another bit. My one tip on it is, once you've cut out your external fabric, cut out your internal too, because I sewed up my shape of my external fleece before I actually cut out my internal, and it would have been easier if I'd actually cut them out together. So this now, I'm actually just going to catch a couple of points in here along that seam, just to make sure that the internal fleece stays aligned with the external fleece. And then I'm doing the bit that I'm dreading, which is going to be attaching the hood actually onto the body of the onesie. But just have to do these things, take action and see where it leads. Okay, it's pinned on and it looks okay. I've only pinned half of it at the moment. So what I did, so quick tips on this, I started pinning it right in the centre of the hood and the centre of the back. And then literally all I've done is make sure, I've got a bit of excess fabric here, but my hemline will be around about here, so I can trim that off afterwards if I want to. I've literally just attached it here. What I did make sure, so as well as aligning it centrally at the back with the hood and the back seam of the actual garment, so this is the back seam, I also made sure that the edge of the hood aligns with the very front of the garment. Now what I've done, I've overlapped that a little bit because the zip will also be sewn into this section next. So I didn't want any sort of dangly bits there. So I overlapped that, which will make it nice and tidy for when I put the zip in there. And then if I want to hide the top of the zip, I could always make a little flap of fabric like I did on the previous onesie that I made. So now all I'm going to do now is attach this half of the hood to the body, and I'll get sewing and see what it looks like. Next bit is putting the elastication around the base of the feet. So I've actually used my ankle as a model. So just make sure it's quite nice and baggy, because this is going to have plenty of material around it too. Don't want it too tight. I've got a big roll of elastic here and it's really, really nice and soft and stretchy. I think quite a thick elastic is great, but if you've got one that's half the width of that, I don't think it's a major issue. So I'm literally going to put this in here, stretch this out so it's the same width as the fabric, and I'll just do that by hand, and I'm going to insert it into the sort of inside of the fabric. I'm going to roll it over, and then with the elastic in it, I'm just going to take the machine and hem it over here. So that's done. And also what I did, I don't know about you, but it drives me nuts when you put elastic in something and then it twists and you're forever trying to untwist it. So once I sewed this in, I then went vertically up this hem here and vertically up this hem here to make sure that the elastic doesn't end up twisting inside the actual, the leg itself. So now I'm adding the zip. I've added it quite close to the top. I've curled over that little bit on this side and I'll do the same on that side. If this is catchy after I've done it, after I've all sewn it in, that's relatively soft, but I might just put a little bit of fleece over the top of that just to keep it nice and soft against the skin. I've folded over this bit of fabric a little bit just to make it a nice sort of rolled clean edge next to the zip. So I'm going to sew in the zip, and then once I've got down to the bottom, I'm then going to turn the onesie inside out, and I'm just going to, I can't see it very well on here, crisscross these over together, make them marry up on the inside, and then I'll sew these so I get a nice close sort of edge to the bottom of the zip, so it looks nice and tidy. And then what I'll do is I will pin this side of the fabric to the zip, roll it over as well, and then go down and sew that section on as well. Ta-da! It's finished. So the only difficulty that I had actually was the zip. I found that when I was sewing the zip in, the fleece kept stretching, so it has gone a little bit wavy. Next time I do this, I probably won't use such a strong zip, and I'll also just show you what I've done inside. Because the zip is quite a strong one and it bunched up a little bit, I thought it was quite a rough edge. So what I did was I've just got a piece of blue fleece. I haven't bothered edging it or anything, and I've just run it down the edge of the zip on both sides to make sure it doesn't rub or scratch. And then at the bottom, in the inside, I've hand sewn that little bit of fleece over the base of the zip, again because the zip itself was quite a strong one, and I've sort of done something similar at the top as well. It's a bit kind of, it's not as tidy as I'd ideally like, but I think it's good to go. And then I hand sewed this on. I think it's always useful to have a loop, and that's it. It's done. I'm very pleased with it actually. So hood is dark blue inside, bright red on the outside, lined with the sort of polar fleece, or the polar style fleece, design fleece. And then I've got a red and a white arm on one side. I've got a white and a blue arm on the other. And that's it. In fact, what I'll do is I will put it on and then you can see it on. I'm really pleased how the shoulders have come out. They're shaped really well. Yeah, so I'll take a photo and you can see what it looks like on. This is it. So, ta-da! I've got a blue pocket, I've got a designer fleece pocket. Hood is really big. I shall do a 360 for you. And just so you can see the legs, oops, sorry, let me just go down. And then, yeah, the legs, they're gathered at the bottom. Excuse the messy background. This is the sewing room. It looks a bit of a disaster site at the moment, but I'm actually very, very pleased with this little onesie.